Team 25 of 52 teams of 8. Help make America wiser and kinder with antique rival wisdom team quotes that have passed the test of time to make humanity great with words of wisdom to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Give your kids free easy extra advantage math, spelling, and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com. Free easy math wisdom workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. Free easy alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Team Quote 25.1. Great lives never go out, they go on. Benjamin Harrison, 1833–1901. This profound quote from Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, speaks to the enduring impact of remarkable individuals throughout history. Let's explore the deeper meaning and implications of this statement. At its core, Harrison's words challenge our conventional understanding of life and death. When he says great lives go on, rather than go out, he's suggesting that truly impactful lives create ripples that continue long after a person's physical presence has ended. This concept operates on several levels. First, consider the intellectual legacy. Great thinkers, leaders, and innovators leave behind ideas that continue to shape society. For example, the philosophical principles of Plato still influence modern political thought, while Einstein's scientific theories remain foundational to our understanding of the universe. Their lives continue through their contributions to human knowledge. Second, there's the aspect of social impact. People who lead great lives often create institutions, movements, or cultural changes that outlast them. Think of how Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision for civil rights continues to inspire and guide social justice movements today, or how Marie Curie's pioneering work in radioactivity laid the groundwork for modern cancer treatments. Third, Harrison's quote speaks to the power of personal influence. Great lives often inspire others to achieve greatness themselves, creating a chain reaction of positive change. Consider how teachers might influence students who go on to become teachers themselves, perpetuating cycles of learning and growth across generations. The quote is particularly interesting coming from Harrison himself, who served as president during a transformative period in American history, 1889 to 1893. During his presidency, he advocated for African American voting rights, supported the Sherman Antitrust Act, and expanded American influence internationally, actions whose consequences continue to resonate in American society. When we apply this perspective to our own lives, it raises important questions about legacy and impact. How can we live in ways that will positively influence future generations? What contributions can we make that will go on beyond our immediate existence? This interpretation of greatness as something that transcends mortality offers both inspiration and responsibility, suggesting that our actions and choices today might influence the world long after we're gone, much like the ripples from a stone thrown into a pond continue to spread outward long after the initial splash. Team Quote 25.2. Reason gains all people by compelling none. Aaron Hill -1685 to 1750. This insightful quote from Aaron Hill, an English dramatist and writer of the 18th century, presents a profound observation about the nature of persuasion and human reasoning. Let's explore its deeper meaning and relevance. The quote highlights a fundamental truth about how people come to accept new ideas. When Hill says that reason gains all people by compelling none, he's describing the paradoxical power of gentle persuasion over force. To understand this fully, let's break down the key components. The first part, reason gains all people, suggests that logical, well-presented arguments have universal appeal. This reflects the Enlightenment thinking of Hill's era, when philosophers and writers increasingly emphasized rational thought as a unifying human characteristic. Just as Newton's laws of motion apply equally to all objects, reason was seen as a force that could bridge cultural and social divides. The second part, by compelling none, reveals the mechanism through which reason operates. Unlike physical force or emotional manipulation, reason works by invitation rather than coercion. When people encounter a logical argument, they must voluntarily engage with it and come to their own conclusions. This voluntary aspect is crucial because it leads to genuine conviction rather than superficial compliance. To illustrate this principle, consider how scientific understanding spreads. When Galileo proposed that the Earth orbited the Sun, attempting to force people to accept this idea through authority actually hindered its acceptance. Instead, it was the gradual accumulation of evidence and the ability of people to verify these observations themselves that eventually made the heliocentric model universally accepted. This concept applies equally well in modern contexts. In education, for example, teachers find that students learn mathematical concepts more deeply when they're guided to discover relationships themselves rather than being told to memorize formulas. In public discourse, people tend to become more entrenched in their positions when they feel their views are under attack, but might reconsider when presented with calm, rational discussion. Think of reason as being like sunlight rather than a hammer. It illuminates rather than forces, reveals rather than compels. This approach respects human agency and our natural resistance to coercion, while still achieving the goal of bringing people to new understandings. The enduring relevance of Hill's observation reminds us that in an age of increasing polarization and heated rhetoric, the patient application of reason remains our most powerful tool for achieving genuine understanding and agreement. It suggests that the most effective way to change minds is not through force or emotional manipulation, but through clear, respectful presentation of logical arguments that allow people to reach conclusions on their own. Teen quote 25.3. Everything is sweetened by risk. Alexander Smith, 1830 to 1867. This evocative quote from Alexander Smith, a Scottish poet and essayist, offers a profound insight into human psychology and the relationship between risk and satisfaction. Let's explore the deeper implications of this observation. The word sweetened is particularly significant here. Smith isn't merely saying that risk makes things exciting or interesting, but that it fundamentally enhances our experience of life's rewards. This connects to what modern psychology has revealed about how our brains process risk and reward. When we overcome challenges or take calculated risks, our brains release dopamine and other neurotransmitters that literally make the eventual success feel more pleasurable. Consider how this principle manifests in various aspects of life. In relationships, the vulnerability of opening up to another person creates deeper emotional connections. In business, entrepreneurs who risk their resources and reputation often find greater satisfaction in their success than those who take safer paths. Even in artistic endeavors, creators who push boundaries and take creative risks often produce more meaningful and impactful work than those who stay within comfortable conventions. The mountain climbing analogy helps illustrate this concept. A summit reached after a challenging climb brings far more satisfaction than the same view accessed by an easy path. The physical risk and effort involved transform the experience from mere observation into achievement. This demonstrates how risk acts as a psychological seasoning, enhancing our appreciation of the outcome. However, it's important to understand that Smith isn't advocating for reckless behavior. The word sweetened suggests refinement and enhancement rather than pure adrenaline seeking. This points to the value of calculated, meaningful risks rather than arbitrary danger. Just as a pinch of salt can enhance a dish while too much ruins it, risk must be properly balanced to have its sweetening effect. This perspective also helps explain why many people feel unfulfilled in completely safe, predictable environments. Without some element of risk, whether financial, emotional, or creative, achievements can feel hollow. This might be why we often look back on periods of struggle or uncertainty in our lives with a strange fondness. Those challenges gave our successes their flavor. Smith's insight remains particularly relevant today, when many aspects of life are becoming increasingly automated and risk-controlled. It reminds us that while safety and security are important, completely eliminating risk from our lives might also remove some of life's sweetness. Perhaps the art of living well involves finding the right balance, taking enough meaningful risks to sweeten our experiences while maintaining sufficient wisdom to avoid truly dangerous gambles. Teen quote 25.4. Love is the crowning grace of humanity. Petrarch 1304 to 1374. This profound quote from Petrarch, the influential Italian Renaissance poet and scholar, deserves careful examination as it makes a remarkable claim about the nature of love and human existence. Let me help unpack its rich meaning and significance. First, let's consider Petrarch's choice of the word, crowning. Just as a crown sits atop everything else and represents the highest authority or achievement, Petrarch suggests that love represents the pinnacle of human qualities and experiences. This metaphor implies that while humans possess many remarkable capabilities, reason, creativity, language, love somehow transcends and completes them all. To understand this fully, we should consider the historical context. Petrarch lived during the early Italian Renaissance, a time of great intellectual and artistic flowering. As one of the earliest humanist scholars, he helped revive interest in classical learning, while also developing new ways of thinking about human nature and potential. When he speaks of love as humanity's crowning grace, he's writing from a perspective that sought to understand and celebrate human capabilities. The word, grace, here is also significant. In medieval and Renaissance thought, grace had both religious and secular meanings. It could refer to divine favor, but also to an inherent quality that elevates and dignifies. By calling love a grace, Petrarch suggests it's both a gift and an inherent capacity that makes us most fully human. What makes this perspective particularly interesting is how it combines emotional and intellectual dimensions. Petrarch himself was famous for his love sonnets to Laura, which explored love's transformative power. But he wasn't just writing about romantic attraction. His conception of love encompassed spiritual, philosophical, and humanitarian dimensions. This broader understanding helps us see how love might truly be humanity's crowning achievement. Consider how love manifests in various human activities. Scientific discovery is often driven by a love of truth and understanding. Great art springs from a love of beauty and expression. Humanitarian actions arise from love for fellow humans. Even our highest intellectual achievements are often motivated by love of knowledge, love of wisdom, love of humanity itself. This interpretation suggests something profound about human nature, that our capacity for love isn't just one trait among many, but the quality that gives meaning and purpose to all our other capabilities. Our reason, creativity, and technical skills reach their highest expression when guided by love. In today's world, where technological advancement often seems to be our highest achievement, Petrarch's perspective offers a valuable counterpoint. It suggests that our greatest glory isn't in what we can build or achieve, but in our capacity to love. Whether that's love for individuals, for humanity as a whole, or for the noble pursuits that advance human flourishing. This understanding of love as humanity's crowning grace continues to resonate because it speaks to a fundamental truth about human nature and fulfillment. It suggests that our highest achievements, our deepest satisfaction, and our truest expression of what it means to be human all flow from our capacity to love. Teen quote 25.5. Have the courage of your desire. George Gissing, 1857 to 1903. This quote from Victorian novelist George Gissing is a powerful call to embrace and pursue our deepest aspirations. Let me help unpack its meaning and significance. The phrase, have the courage of your desire, operates on multiple levels. At its most basic, it encourages us to acknowledge what we truly want. But Gissing goes further by framing this acknowledgement as an act of courage. This suggests that recognizing and pursuing our genuine desires often requires overcoming fear, social pressure, or self-doubt. The context of Gissing's life adds particular weight to these words. As a writer in Victorian England, he struggled with poverty and social expectations while pursuing his literary ambitions. His own experience demonstrated that following one's desires, especially artistic or unconventional ones, often meant facing significant hardship and criticism. The word choice is telling. Gissing doesn't say follow or pursue your desire, but rather have the courage of it. This implies that the first and perhaps hardest step isn't the pursuit itself, but developing the bravery to fully own and acknowledge what we want. In Victorian society, as often today, admitting to ambitious or unconventional desires could be seen as presumptuous or inappropriate. This quote resonates particularly well with creative and intellectual pursuits, where self-doubt and social pressure can be especially challenging obstacles. Gissing suggests that authentic desire itself demands courage, not just in the pursuit, but in the very act of allowing ourselves to want something bold or meaningful. Teen quote 25.6. Love is the river of life in the world. Henry Ward Beecher, 1813 to 1887. This profound quote from Henry Ward Beecher, a prominent 19th-century American minister and social reformer, offers a beautiful metaphor that rewards careful analysis. Let's explore its layers of meaning. When Beecher compares love to a river, he's drawing on several key characteristics of rivers that illuminate how love functions in human society. Just as a river sustains life along its banks, providing water for plants, animals, and human settlements, love nourishes and sustains human relationships and communities. Rivers are also dynamic systems. They're constantly flowing, changing, and renewing themselves, much like how love must be actively maintained and renewed in our relationships. The metaphor goes even deeper when we consider a river's natural properties. Rivers carve paths through landscapes over time, just as love shapes our lives and societies. They can be both gentle and powerful, capable of nurturing growth, but also of transforming their surroundings completely. Similarly, love can be a gentle, nurturing force in our daily lives while also having the power to fundamentally change us and our relationships. The phrase, in the world, is particularly significant. Beecher isn't just saying that love is important to individuals. He's positioning it as the fundamental life-giving force in human society. This reflects his religious and social reform background, as he frequently advocated for love and compassion as the basis for social change. Historically, this perspective was quite significant during Beecher's lifetime, 1813 to 1887. He lived through the American Civil War and was a prominent abolitionist, often arguing that love and moral persuasion were crucial tools in the fight against slavery. His emphasis on love as a transformative force wasn't just poetic. It was part of his broader vision for social reform. What makes this metaphor particularly effective is how it captures both the nurturing and dynamic aspects of love. Rivers don't just contain water. They distribute it, shape landscapes, connect regions, and create conditions for life to flourish. Similarly, love isn't just an emotion we contain within ourselves. It's an active force that shapes our relationships, connects communities, and creates the conditions for human flourishing. Teen quote 25.7. A compliment is something like a kiss through a veil. Victor Hugo, 1802 to 1885. This elegant metaphor from Victor Hugo, the renowned French novelist and poet, offers a fascinating insight into the nature of compliments and human interaction. Let me help unpack its rich meaning and implications. To fully appreciate this metaphor, let's first consider the image Hugo creates. A kiss through a veil is an intimate gesture that's partially obscured or filtered. It maintains a degree of restraint and propriety while still conveying genuine affection. This perfectly mirrors how compliments function in social interactions. The comparison works on multiple levels. First, like a kiss through a veil, a compliment represents a moment of emotional intimacy that's mediated by social conventions and language. The veil, in this case, consists of the polite forms and careful wording we use when expressing admiration or appreciation for others. Just as a veil creates a delicate barrier between two people sharing a kiss, the formal structure of a compliment creates a safe distance that makes the expression of positive feelings socially acceptable. The historical context adds another layer of meaning. In Hugo's 19th century France, physical displays of affection were highly regulated by social convention, making the image of a kiss through a veil particularly resonant for his contemporary readers. Similarly, compliments served, and still serve, as a way to express genuine warmth while maintaining proper social boundaries. The metaphor also captures the subtle interplay between revelation and concealment that characterizes both compliments and veiled kisses. A compliment, like a kiss through a veil, simultaneously reveals and masks the full intensity of the feeling behind it. The veil creates a symbolic distance that makes the intimate gesture more acceptable in formal social contexts, just as the conventional language of compliments makes it safe to express admiration or affection. This brings us to a deeper truth about human interaction. Sometimes indirect expression can be more powerful than direct statement. Just as a glimpse of something through a veil can be more intriguing than seeing it plainly, a skillfully worded compliment can carry more impact than a more direct expression of admiration. Teen quote 25.8. He threatens many that hath injured one. Ben Jonson 1572 to 1637. This pithy observation from Ben Jonson, the English Renaissance playwright and poet, captures a profound insight about human psychology and social dynamics. Let me help unpack its layers of meaning and contemporary relevance. At its core, Johnson's statement describes how a single act of aggression or injury creates ripples of fear beyond its immediate target. When someone wrongs another person, they inadvertently send a message to everyone who witnesses or learns of the act. I am capable of doing this to you as well. This transforms one concrete action into many implicit threats. To understand this fully, consider how this principle manifests in different contexts. In a workplace, if an employer unfairly terminates one employee, other workers naturally begin to worry about their own job security. In social groups, if someone betrays one friend's confidence, other friends may become guarded with their own secrets. The actual injury affects one person, but the potential for injury, the threat, spreads much wider. The historical context adds another dimension to Johnson's insight. Writing in the late 16th and early 17th centuries, he lived in a time when reputation and honor were paramount in social relations. A single act of aggression could destabilize entire networks of social relationships, as everyone would need to reassess their position relative to both the aggressor and the victim. This observation remains remarkably relevant today. Consider how modern social media amplifies this effect. When someone publicly attacks or criticizes one person online, it often creates an atmosphere of anxiety among many others who fear they could be next. The same dynamic plays out in international relations, where aggressive actions against one nation often cause multiple other countries to feel threatened. Johnson's quote also illuminates something fundamental about power dynamics and intimidation. Those who wish to exert control over groups often deliberately demonstrate their capacity for harm against one individual, knowing that others will learn from that example. This is how a single act of retaliation or punishment can be used to maintain control over many people. What makes this insight particularly valuable is how it helps us understand both the responsible use of power and the psychology of intimidation. When we exercise authority or influence over others, we must remember that our actions toward one person send messages to many. Similarly, when we observe hostile actions, we can better understand why they generate such widespread anxiety and defensive responses. And to help raise school test scores and self-confidence, you can give your kids free Easy Extra Advantage math, spelling, and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com or buy at educationstopshate.com. Free Easy Math Wisdom Workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. You'll get plenty of repetitive practice of age ranges and averages of our 52 teams of 8 quote authors. Free Easy Alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. Can you decode this Cypher quote of encouragement using either our Learning to Spell or just for fun instructions? And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. We offer printed versions and timed videos with background music. Sign up for free weekly emails of 52 teams of antique rival wisdom workbooks with easy math, spelling, and reading practice. And if you'd like to get paid for sharing our wearable wisdoms, keep this in mind. Everyone I know wears a shirt, and most of us change them daily, so change your shirt and change the world. Social equalities are blatantly subliminal antique positive wisdoms repetitively shared without saying a word. This applies to all our wearable shareable wisdoms, like pretty witty baby onesies and baby tees that you and others will see and read multiple times a day. The same is true with pretty witty kids, but they'll also share these wisdoms with anyone that can read at daycare or school. Youthful truths let your kids gain confidence, sharing antique wisdoms with their friends. Imagine them sharing words of wisdom with classmates and teachers. I think, therefore I think tees I wear is a super easy way to share words of wisdom that have passed the test of time. Our social equalities help make us all wiser and kinder with blatantly subliminal messages promoting a more fair and equal opportunity society for all. And don't forget our giftwisdoms.com for birthdays and holidays that makes it easy to share the wisdom with clothing, coffee mugs, and magnets. So do the future a favor by encouraging, educating and entertaining with words of wisdom that have passed the test of time to make us all wiser and kinder. With wearable wisdoms to fit babies, kids, and adults, you can clothe a whole family, city, or state. Join the 52 of 8 today at 52of8.com.